Welcome, fellow enjoyers of the AFL. Got two-man pod today. Mats is laid out with illness.
Laid out, mate. He's
done a Chris Scott on us.
He's done a Chris Scott. He said he's like North's winning the flag. You know, he's like Sheasel's best player in the competition. I'm like, oh, this guy's obviously hallucinating. So we'll just give him we'll let him sit this one out, man.
The hot towel on his forehead.
The fever's just going crazy. So yeah, just me and you today. Matza hasn't missed a lot of the podcast over the years, so pretty consistent member on my right. So we'll have to hold the fort today.
Easy done.
I'm happy to start because I'm feeling fired up today, and Carlton, like all the other games, has been on a Thursday night starting off this podcast. So it's been a bad, poor tone to every podcast because I'm always upset. But 0-4 as predicted from last week, and it's worst case scenario for Carlton. I don't think we could have expected it to be this bad coming into the season. It's a catastrophe, and anything from here on, I don't know if you really make a difference to our season. I think we're cooked. And yeah, I hardly really know what to say, to be honest, man. Other than the fact that Carlton's done a 10-year rebuild and they've built a list that is horrible and classless.
Yeah. No, I'm starting to get in your territory anyway with North. The worst thing of it is I was going to come on the pod. If North had a half-decent showing, I was going to call you Owen, have a bit of a joke about that.
Yeah, I've called myself Owen, man.
I can't even take the piss anymore. Like, we're 1 win ahead. Like, maybe a fluky win, so it doesn't matter. In terms of Carlton, man, I don't know. Like,
how can a team... I mean, look, I know it's wet, and when it's wet, right, it exposes your skills, right? But the Collingwood Football Club look like gods compared to clumsy fools.
Well, Sidebottom was like ball faking, walking around guys, like taking the piss at a certain point. He was smiling the whole game, Sidebottom. He was loving life.
He loves killing Carlton, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, we talk about the Carlton-Collingwood rivalry. There's no rivalry, man. All they do is beat us. They've just beaten us for 20 years. My whole life, they've just beaten us. There's no rivalry, man.
Man, do you realise you let Lockie Schultz get 10 coaches' votes?
I know. That's it. That's probably the worst part. Carlton media is not bring up the fact that Lockie Schultz is best on. I don't know, man.
Well, for me, I've got a question for you, right? So say you beat Richmond like you should have and stayed at 42 points, the margin you had over them.
Yep.
And then you proceed to lose the next three to Hawthorn, Collingwood. Who's the other one? Doggies.
Yeah, Dogs.
In what has been all three of them, not horrible, massive losses, like just clearly not the better side, right? So say you're 1-3, how much difference do you think you'll be feeling?
A little bit different because the Tigers are just, one of the worst teams in the competition, and the thing about that Tigers, it's hard to talk about because that kind of set up the season, because the whole dying in the second halves, that was kind of the pioneer of that, right? But it's really just, we thought that maybe that could be a fluke. It's a one-off. It's like a generational comeback victory. Well, clearly it's not, because clearly there's a massive issue with Carlton. And, a bit talked about fitness. It's definitely not fitness. It's method. It's teams working us out. And teams have worked us out now since the middle half of last year. And the whole time under Voss, teams have been able to work us out because we haven't been able to have a consistent season. It's one of those ones where we have a couple of great games, we look amazing, and then suddenly we fall off a cliff. And whatever's happened, obviously the team is not good enough, but it just seems to be the rise and fall of Carlton. They flirt with a little bit of success. They give you something to make you think that they're going to get there, and then they absolutely fall on their face like crazy. And that's what they're doing now. And if something, I don't expect us to lose this week against West Coast because I just don't expect it. But if they do, oh my gosh, the chaos. To the point where I almost want it to happen.
Well, the funny thing is, then you've got North on Good Friday. And I'm no longer confident about that anymore. I should have no right to be confident.
I've got no right to be confident either.
You know what I mean? But if you don't convincingly beat the Eagles, I will start to get a little bit confident because they're atrocious as well.
Yeah. The Eagles...
Who knows?
Look, Dean, if Carlton loses to West Coast this week... The heads that will roll, the damage...
You would have to get sucked at that point, right? Surely.
Look...
0-5, West Coast and Richmond losses, like it has to.
The thing is maybe there's no point talking about if we lose, because I think we will. Yeah. And Carlton's so lucky that they're under the fire, right? 0-4, terrible, embarrassing, but I think Harry's going to come back this week. Elijah Hollands will come back this week. We've got the worst opponent.
You've got West Coast and North.
Yeah.
You can easily be 2-4.
It gets him out of trouble a little bit potentially. Yeah. But if they lose, oh my gosh, man. The chaos, like there'll be flares at Icon Park. Man. It'll be insane.
One thing I wanted to mention, so Vossi, this isn't a Vossi thing per se, but like he's part of the coaching group that does this. What's your opinion on coaches not going up to the box anymore? Because I'll tell you what, I've sat at level 1 the last couple of weeks at North games. You can't get a gauge. At least I can't with my fan eye. I'm sure they're a bit different, but there's no way in my mind a coach is better off being down there.
Yeah, look, the only reason, like I know a lot of coaches a lot of them actually coach from the boundary line, and Chris Fagan's probably the most notable one.
Weird to me, yeah.
It is weird, but since successful coaches do it, then I kind of go, all right, if they can do it, then Vossi can do it. And I know that it's also a team they coaches, so obviously Vossi in some format is getting fed a lot of information, and there's all the line coaches that make a lot of decisions, I'm sure, as well. So it's a team effort. So I don't really have too much of an issue with it, more so because I don't know how coaches actually structure and how they get fed information. But you're right. If the ball's on the other side of the ground, he can't even see it.
That's what I'm saying. And I know Clarko's mentioned when he's been down, it's because we've had a young team and he wants direct feedback right to them as soon as they come off, less delay with the phones and whatever. But in the case of Carlton, it's kind of like you said, it's been a 10-year rebuild. Like, I know he hasn't been there the whole time, but he's been there long enough.
He's had plenty of time.
Yeah, to have the message and just make the calls from up there. But anyway, I don't know if that's a major talking point, but something I noticed.
Look, it's clear that Vossi is not the guy for us, which is a tragedy because of how many coaches we've been through. But I'm not even calling for his head at this point because there's so many other issues. As I said, 10 years rebuild, right? It's not just Vossi that's failed this club. It's the players that have failed the club. It's the list management, which have a lot to answer for, right? And everyone higher up in management and CEO positions, board positions, have failed.
Yeah.
And the whole club has to look at themselves, have a good hard look at themselves and go, we weren't good enough and it's just unacceptable. If they hang out another coach to dry and the same people stay in with the same archaic almost mentality of how to run a football club, right? Which that's what it seems Carlton is like. It seems like they just don't get it. It seems like they run the club like they did in the 80s and it just doesn't cut it anymore. You can just tell by the way they do their social medias. I think I didn't get the email myself, but apparently just before the game there was some board announcement that got emailed to the club. You know, just before the game, the Instagram did something about the partnerships that they have. Like shit, people don't care about.
Yeah.
It seems like Carlton does all this work to do everything other than play good football, and no one cares about it anymore. No one cares about the off-field stuff. No one cares about the brand partnerships, the money they make, the good initiatives they do on the game. All we want is for you to play good football.
Yep.
All I want is kick, ball. That's it.
Just kick the ball, man.
Like they've cared too much about development and all this other stuff. They don't talk about winning enough, man. And they've been a culture that have lost for my whole life. Like Cade Simpson, you know, a great player. I think he's got the biggest losing percentage of any player in history or something like that.
Oh, really?
Something along those lines. And you know who's currently got almost a worse percentage? Guess.
Cripper. Oh, not Cripper.
So what we're saying is these guys have done nothing but lose. And it just has to change eventually, man.
Yeah.
It just has to change. And we're staring down another mini rebuild with no first-round draft pick. And you look at the way, we haven't really talked about how they've even played the game. It's clearly Carlton was trying to take the game on a lot more. But they choose a game to take it on that's wet weather football.
Yeah.
And they just had no ability to be clean around the contest. And Collingwood just destroyed them, man. They made us look second rate.
Yeah.
And when you just can't win the ball there, you're trying to win it back and you're trying to transition it when it's wet and you just clearly don't have the skills, it just looks wrong. Especially
when you've trained your system for years or in the off-season, if you've tweaked your system. For me, there's a few teams early on, like even Melbourne, that I appreciate it to an extent, but it seems like very basic coaching to be like, hey, we need a win. Now when you mark it off halfback, just handball it to someone running past you. Like play a bit faster. It's like, I get that that's one of the things they can control is that's emphasised playing on a bit more, you know.
Yep.
But like you said, it's in the wet. You're playing Collingwood. You huffed and puffed. And then second half, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point. Everyone didn't have the faith that you'd kick on. You maybe hoped as a Carlton fan, but everyone else is sort of watching like, what's the bet? They implode. And it happened again.
Well, apparently Collingwood even talked about it at halftime.
I'm sure they would have, man. Yeah.
And the thing is it's infectious, man. Like I think McGovern, I read somewhere that he's like got the worst turnover percentage out of any player off the back half this year. He's just a turnover machine, right? This is a guy that's meant to be skilled. This is a guy that's meant to be able to have a good kick in the back half. He's destroying us. And then he's just got the shakes. Ollie Hollands, he's trying hard, but he's kicking it 10 meters and turning over the ball. And then you're just watching this and like you're thinking, this is a professional team and it's just a shambles. Then they'll get it, they'll kick it. Okay, better. Kick it, gets to kind of the forward half, turnover.
I've got to be honest, I was watching the last quarter and I realised you hadn't scored a goal in the whole second half.
That's right.
And a sick part of me was just like, wouldn't it be just funny if they just didn't get another goal?
It is.
And then
funny.
you had to ruin it. Yeah, but anyway.
It is funny because if it's not funny, if you don't laugh, you cry type of vibe.
Yeah.
Just on Collingwood, I mean, I'm not really sure whether they're good or bad at the moment.
I think they're solid.
But yeah, they obviously have a class level that exceeds Carlton's. Just a shout out to like Darcy Cameron, who I read he is dominating the league with intercept marks in the competition by like I think he's like 20 ahead of Gawn, who's the next person. So that's something that with the eye test you see that he gets a lot of intercept marks, right? A lot of contested marks, but when you actually put it to the stats, that's giving Collingwood so much transition ball. Right, when the game's up in the balance and he's taking those marks that all the other ruckmen in the competition aren't anywhere near what he's at, so that's pretty special. But yeah, other than that, shout out to all the Collingwood fans that absolutely dug it in. Trust them to just dig it in when Carlton's at the absolute lowest. You don't hear shit when it's like even, but when Carlton's absolutely pathetic, every second person has to
look.
has
To
to
be
laugh
fair,
at us.
they'll give you a stick anyway. Yeah, regardless.
There'll be a time in the future where I give it back. Don't worry.
Yeah, you're still waiting. That's all right.
Yeah, like in 30 years' time when I've got dementia.
But yeah, no, I don't have too much else to add on the Pies, to be honest, other than I think they knew how the game was going to play out. They knew you'd huff and puff and then just waited patiently to the second half. Like I said, Sidebottom was smiling the entire game. That sort of sums it up.
Yeah.
He knew.
And the other thing is the scoreline flattered Carlton. It was close, but it wasn't even remotely close in the second half.
Well, Myercheck hit 0 goals 3 and some of them were pretty bad behinds.
Yeah, I think just the terrible conditions, it was a gross game to watch, to be honest.
Yep.
Kind of allowed Carlton to kind of stay in it.
Speaking of gross games to watch, Friday night, not much better, to be honest.
Well, they're Melbourne's the other team, like Carlton, that have just fallen off a cliff. I think they've got pretty much a similar games since last win. I think it's within a couple of days, right? The days since the last win, I should say. So Melbourne's similar to Carlton where, no surprise, a similar game style, heavy mid-reliance. When that midfield's not firing like it isn't, they just seem to have no other gear.
And the thing is they can't score goals. So I've jotted down here their total score every week this year, right? 74, 66, 62, 46. They can't score.
No.
And a lot of that does come from the ball movement, which is atrocious. But yeah, like you see Petrarca after the game throwing his mouth guard. Like I get he's upset. Why, fair enough. I don't mind the emotion, but he's obviously not himself. Oliver, moments, but not himself. Gawn looks fine. I think Gawn being the one that you can see visibly that's cracked as well, like mentally just is checked out a little bit to me anyway, to the eye. I think that says it all because he's always been the one fronting the media and really like saving the club from a lot of this PR stuff and everything. Like now that he's sort of showing the signs of being done, I think they're cooked.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah. It sounds like the mature heads that have kind of held the club for a long time, you can see the cracks, as you said. And look, I'm not too worried about Melbourne future because I feel like they, at least over the last couple of years, have gone to the draft and gotten some high draft picks, as opposed to someone like Carlton where they've had aspirations for something bigger and they've fallen so far from their own internal expectations. Shows the club doesn't know where they're at. At least Melbourne's gone and got Langford and Lindsay, who already in 3 or 4 games have shown that they're going to be great players. They got Caleb Windsor as well. There's a lot more work to be done. Their forward line needs to be fixed, but I just feel like they at least have started that rebuild process. But you don't want them to turn into a Carlton North Melbourne where they're just at the bottom and they're getting smashed every game either, especially when they still have experienced bodies around. So they probably have to find a way to do a mini rebuild. They've got to find a way to keep their spirits up and get a bit of momentum because you don't want the season to just fall on its ass and just be a horror show. So I don't know how they do that, but I guess they allowed Geelong to take 165 marks, man, which I wrote 11 games in the history there has been more marks than that.
Wow.
That's VFL, AFL history, 150 years. So it's a historic game.
It's a wonder the margin wasn't worse, to be honest. Like watching it, I always felt like, why is Melbourne still in this game?
Yeah.
Somehow they were, which is a credit to them, I guess. They hung in there, but
it seemed like they were trying, but that's obviously a game style thing, allowing them to kind of chip it.
Yeah. Well, Goodwin, I mean, I guess it shows that they were trying really hard to get back in their defense. So Geelong had no option but to chip it around a bit. It was funny actually. Goodwin, he said after the game, it's time for them to stay calm but get urgent.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, for me, I can understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
But
you know what he's trying to say?
Just win some games.
Win football. Look, you know the problem about those press conferences, because I've seen a lot of them, and I think you have as well.
Yeah.
When your team is losing and losing in a fashion like this, where almost probably you don't expect it, right? And there's frustration, but the coach kind of won't give into it. Like sometimes you just want the coach to say, "We sucked. F-bomb. We're shit. We're useless. Pathetic. I'm going to give the boys a spray. I'm going to get the whip out and abuse them." Like that's what you want, because you want to know that he's angry and that it's not an acceptable performance.
Yep.
But they just don't say it like that.
No.
So they give you the cliche. The cliche never works. He could say the smartest Albert Einstein thing ever, and you still wouldn't accept it because of the performance. And if Melbourne 4-0, he could go say something stupid.
Yeah.
I couldn't come up with something at that moment. Say something super dumb, and you're like, yeah, fair enough. He knows what he's talking about because we're winning. So
No,
you can't win in that scenario. Is what I'm trying to say.
You can't win, but I do find it funny how it's like, all right, now we're 0-4, we're going to get urgent now.
Yeah.
Like we're bucking around this. We weren't trying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, they're in trouble. Geelong, like I said, I feel like they should have won by more. But I don't think they were ever in danger of losing the game. They always seemed like they had another gear or two whenever they wanted.
I mean, they're at Geelong as well.
Yeah.
So the record speaks for them.
O'Sullivan was really good.
Yeah, I love him.
Great pick.
Yeah.
A year developing last year, then he's just come out typical Geelong fashion, just looks ready for the level as quick as possible.
They don't rush players, man. They give them the opportunity, and when they're ready, they come in.
Yeah.
But the other one, danger up forward, is pretty dangerous.
He is. When he has those games where he's just kicking a couple early goals, he just like, of course,
anytime he does a snap on the left, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
The fact that those hamstrings still work at his age is insane. But yeah, that's probably enough on that game.
Yeah, that's enough of the Catters. The next one, game of the round.
Easily.
Very clearly.
Do you want to start with the umpiring decision?
Yeah, it's funny to me how they've had to come out and say, yeah, we made a mistake. We're like, A, everyone already knew it. B, like, are they just going to say sorry for every bad decision now? Are we going to get 20 apologies a game? Like,
well, they only really talk about the game-defining moments, right? But if they actually wanted to go through, they should give us like a spreadsheet each game of all the things that they've done wrong.
That would be great. That would be fantastic.
There'd be 20 decisions.
More, probably.
So you think there's no point in them even coming out?
But look, yeah, from my perspective, Rankin either marks that ball or he didn't mark it because he was bowled over illegally. So it's pretty clear to me.
Yeah.
I was telling Mats, we were watching it together, in that I still think from that angle, it's slightly under 50% chance that goes in, because it was a tough shot. I know it's Rankin and he's a magician, but maybe they draw the game. It's hard to say. Who cares? But yeah, they did get it wrong.
Yeah.
In saying that, look, someone had to win. I don't think either team, for having won or lost that game, or rather having lost it, changes much of where they're going. Like, I still think Adelaide's got full confidence in what they're doing.
I agree with that.
They'll be fine. But yeah, did you have any different thoughts on it?
No, look, it does change the narrative a lot, because at the end of the day, Suns win. So you think, oh, Suns are better, right? But yeah, it was such a tight game. But I think what was interesting about it was the fact that they kind of played different game styles. Like, I feel like Gold Coast was more of the forward half game. And the Crows have just become a really good transition team. I think they're number one transition team.
Unbelievable, yeah.
And it was fun watching this game with stark contrast to the previous two games of the round, where there's just an even team performance from both teams. And it was good to see just a team of good players having their moments. Like, you could go through the list of both teams and you go, oh, that player played well, and that guy did that, and that guy did that. And it's just a whole list of players, right? From back half to forward half for both teams, right? So that was kind of the exciting part, but that's the reason why they're good, because they just don't rely on certain individuals. There's clearly some great players.
Yep.
But it was good to see kind of a team performance. What did I have here? The forwards for Adelaide, they've got a three-pronged attack.
Every week they're kicking multiple goals each.
Yeah, which... is there any other team in the comp that's got three forwards that are scoring every week? I can't think of one.
No.
Not talls, right?
No.
Most teams are going with potent small forward lines, but Adelaide kind of has a mixture of both, which kind of makes him quite unique, I think.
I was going to say, it's probably the most unique forward setup, and it makes you every week, whichever team's up against them, you have to think a bit differently about how you defend.
Yeah.
Because you can't let Tex just run around because he gets up the ground and he's very creative and
And so skillful.
Yeah, he's skillful off both feet. He can turn and hit another target. So if you have a really good defender on him, then who's staying deep with Thilthorpe? Who's staying deep with Fogarty?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like all three layers of the forward line, like Thilthorpe, they can all rotate, but I find it most dangerous when Fogarty's sort of that middle of the 50, like 30 out, leading. Thilthorpe's a bit deeper, and then Tex is sort of outside the 50.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it doesn't matter.
You feel like they could interchange,
correct,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think with the Crows, it seems like everyone's just in good form at the moment. Like, obviously, you got Rankin full-time mid. He had a different type of game to his usual one because he had 10 clearances. And he didn't necessarily have a lot of forward half possessions, but he was actually doing the grunt work, which is not something you'd expect of Rankin. Maybe, the fact that Matt Crouch was out, he had to go in a bit more, but then it gave an opportunity for Peatling to have a really big game, especially a massive second quarter, right? So
huge.
That was quite good. And even someone like Hinge and Millera, who has been a player that's been on the list for such a long time, high draft pick, they're both kicking it above 80% off the back line. And then from a Gold Coast perspective, just to spread the load. And probably the most notable thing about their performance is they came out firing every quarter. And then it was up to Adelaide to kind of chase the game back. But that shows a lot of focus. It shows that, the coaching staff is giving them some clarity and they're coming out and executing straight away.
Yep.
So that's pretty good. Daniel Rioli's gone a bit unnoticed as well. I mean...
Big game, very clean.
That's a huge... For him to just be able to slot in, you know what I mean? And I guess, who's the other... Noble as well. Yeah. I mean, Damien Hardwick's just struck gold, hasn't he?
Well, they made sense as moves for them because they did need a bit more off halfback, a bit more drive.
Yeah.
And Noble gets busy. Like, he's very energetic.
Yeah.
Rioli, pretty clean. One guy I want to shout out, and if you remember my draft videos a couple of years ago, I had Jed Walter above Harley Reid.
Yeah.
If you recall. I think it's the pendulum starting to...
Because you won't let us forget it, that's why.
Pendulum starting to swing a little bit on that one. 3 goals. He's a handful. He still hasn't gotten to that point where he's going to take over the game per se, but if he's your second fiddle to King and you need to give all eyes on King, I feel like by the end of the year, the public perception of Jed Walter is going to be very different than it is right now.
Well, I think you're right because the spotlight is now on Gold Coast.
Yeah. So
more people watching the games, more people are aware that they finally arrived. And yeah, he's one of the young players that's going to come to light. What else did I have? I had a little shout out for Daniel Curtin. I know that's about Adelaide.
Oh, yeah?
He looks great. I know it's a high draft pick, but everything he does is clean. Not that he gets a lot of the ball.
And the good thing for him now is Adelaide's become a very good team in that they don't need to rely on him, even though he was a high-end draft pick. He can just sort of go wherever, and he's so versatile. So having that versatility at that age just means that he sort of goes under the radar.
Yeah.
He can be an extra tall in the forward line, extra loose in defence, extra big body around the ball.
He's doing that. You're watching him in the back line, and then 3 minutes later, he's taking a mark in the forward line. It's like, is this guy running hard? What is his role?
It's the most ideal thing for him to be doing right now. Couldn't be better. So credit to the Crows because I believe they traded in to get him into the draft.
Right. We didn't play footy in his first year, did he?
Not much.
Yeah,
not much. It was the sub a lot and stuff. But
the other 2 points I had is Took Miller's back in kind of Brownlow contention form.
Brownlow?
So I reckon he's playing amazing football and he's scoring goals as well. I mean, and just the spread that they have, Gold Coast, like they had so many more scorers, like including points, than Adelaide. Really, Adelaide, what was interesting about kind of how their distribution of goals were, it was just their forwards.
Yeah.
The Smalls actually didn't get involved in this game, which is maybe a little bit unorthodox for them. But Gold Coast had every Joe Blow kicking goals or kicking points. So to me, that shows that they've got quite an attacking team. And because they can trap it into forward half, it gives a lot of people opportunities to kick scores. So yeah, interesting game. Definitely game of the round.
What do you think of the Mac Andrew Thilthorpe beef at the end?
I like it, man.
I had no problem with it.
Yeah, I like the Suns having a bit of swagger because they're on the come up and it's about time they're there. But yeah, I like a bit of the attitude, man. When your team's up and running and winning, that's when you can have it. And
I feel like initially I was sort of looking at when the siren went, I thought, oh, Mac, all right, the game's done now. Just stop carrying on. But reality is, just because the siren went doesn't mean your emotion's going to like switch off.
No.
Like a bit of that arrogance is good when you're backing it up with wins. I don't mind it.
Yeah, and the truth been told is we don't actually know what they were saying.
Correct.
So it could have been some bad shit. And if it is that, maybe they have more to discuss.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was like more philosophical, like what's the meaning of life? You can't have a quick conversation about that. You know what I mean? You've got to talk about that.
Thilthorpe did get the 10 coaches votes though, 5 goals. So
Yeah.
all that Mac had on him was that last contest and the win, which I guess is the game. But
Yeah.
no, I don't mind it. We need a few more rivalries in the league because it's usually like a team rivalry or a fan rivalry, but there's not enough player rivalries.
I would say there's almost no player rivalries.
Almost none. So there's one now.
Yeah.
Thilthorpe versus Andrew. If they play later in the year, part 2, it'd be fun. Tigers put up a decent showing against Brisbane in the end. I mean, I know they got a few later goals and shrunk that lead a little bit, but
Yeah.
you take that as a Richmond fan, kick a decent amount of goals. Young boys did well, trainer played well.
Yeah.
It's kind of all you asked for at this point.
Yeah, I think they exceeded expectations on this one. This is the one on books that you look at 100-point loss, right?
Yep.
So I think the good thing for Tigers is the fact that they didn't fade away. And even, I think they kicked a lot of red time goals across all the quarters, which is probably not what you'd expect because you'd expect them to tire out. But they kept up the pressure. They kept hunting. And what I like about the Tigers is, even though they're a young team, the way that they score can look quite good and quite efficient. It doesn't necessarily look like they're really struggling. Like you look at some of the teams at the moment that aren't kicking scores, it's like, man, these guys can't kick a goal to save themselves. But when the Tigers do, they do it in quick fashion. So they are still, they've got an identity. They've got a way that they play. And when a young team has that and it's working, then I feel like you can grow at such a higher rate because it looks like they already kind of know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And you talk about some of their young kids. I think that already a couple games in, they're trying to use someone like Luke Trainer more. He looked a lot more attacking the last 2 games. I mean, Lawler's already a gun.
Yeah.
He's got more score involvements than like the Wizard at the moment. Then a couple other notable forwards. So he's already doing a lot of damage. We talked about Seth Campbell last week. A lot of these players are really standing up. And, with a couple games in their career. So I think the Tigers should be very happy. Lions got the win, which is what they need to do. I don't think they were ever out of second gear or first gear, to be honest. So it was never like in danger.
No, I don't think so. My one thing with them though is their key forward stocks worry me a little bit, and I know that was always like an easy concern to start the season with Hipwood and Day's not really doing anything right. He's not in. Did he play? I don't even know.
He did.
He did. Yeah, but he missed the first couple. I don't know. I just feel like their smalls are that good that it still can work. They can still do something this year, but certain matchups I feel like are going to be a problem for them because he's a confidence player, and when he's down without Danaher there to bail him out, I worry. Logan Morris, Matt, I reckon.
Our producer says that Logan Morris is good, which he is.
I don't know if he's ready to take the next step up though. I don't know.
Look, I just think they've got so many threats and so many running players and different players that are getting found in different positions, like Jasper Fletcher, for example, moved from the wing to halfback, having an impact. Yeah, I wouldn't be even remotely concerned about Brisbane, to be honest. Not that they've looked that amazing this year, but they're undefeated, aren't they?
Yeah, they haven't lost.
Yeah,
True?
so
Yeah,
they haven't lost, right?
correct. Yeah, they're 4-0.
So, look, when they come up against some of the bigger challenges, we'll see how they go. But, yeah, to me, they're my premiership favourite at this point.
Still the favourite.
Yeah.
Interesting. Look, it's hard to argue against it.
They've got gears, man. And then my boy Hugh McCluggage, man.
Your boy, eh?
Hugh McDamage is what they
Hugh
call him.
McDamage.
He's killing it. Maybe potentially first-time All-Australian after being in the squad for how many years. So, and then even the Ashcroft brothers, like Will Ashcroft, goal of the year contender.
Oh, I didn't even realise Lockie Neal had 42 disposals.
Well, he loves beating up on a bad team.
That's crazy, though. 42? Anyway. Now, look, I would agree with you there. They're probably, in my eyes, I don't know, I'm cooling on them a little bit just because I feel like, although, they're so deep, though. I get what you're saying.
They're so deep.
It's so hard to go back-to-back, though. That's probably my main thing is I think another team will have something else, like a Hawthorn or a Giants. I don't know.
But you think they'll be top 2?
Brisbane.
Yeah.
And then they're at the Gabba, yeah. No, it's a good point. I can't argue against it.
They're going to give themselves every chance to compete for it again.
I can't argue
There's no, hangover or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're playing their best football. I don't think they've turned on all the gears, but I think they've got plenty to show. So, Yeah, I think they'll be all right. But yeah, I think that's more about the Tigers and putting up a good fight that game.
Yep.
Yeah, they didn't disgrace themselves at least, which Tigers fans will be happy about.
Yep. No, that's fair.
No, it's your turn to shine.
Man, usually when we lose, I mean, it happens so often. It's like, whatever, another week. There has been this thing this year with the North fans, including myself, of a bit higher expectation. I feel like, if you recall last week, I actually asked you, like, genuinely, what are your thoughts on this game? I wanted you to actually think about it.
I tipped North. You got me up and about. I tipped North, man.
I did it to my brother as well. Sorry if you tipped North because of me, but I honestly did think, with the outs that Sydney had and the fact that they haven't been great,
yeah,
and the fact that we have shown a little bit of something under the roof, the crowd was into it, I did honestly think we were a chance to be in the game. And then who knows, depending on how the game went, maybe you can win it. Now, what actually unfolded was a first quarter in which you look at it on the scoreboard, 5-2. But I honestly felt like we were pretty hard done by. There was a few umpiring decisions and just a few mistakes, like the typical things a young team will do. And I thought, all right, let's just steady the ship, which we did in the second quarter. So up until halftime, the crowd was really into it. The boys were competing pretty hard, a lot of mistakes as usual. I think the score from turnover at halftime, even though we were 3 or 4 goals down, was like 40-something against at halftime.
That's crazy.
Which I didn't realize, like in the moment, again, watching North all these years, I sort of just see the turnovers as part of the game, but that's not normal. That's not good. Right? So watching it, I don't know, live, I have a different experience live versus on TV.
Yeah.
In person, I thought, look, we're competing, some mistakes, things could be worse, but I was actually excited at halftime. I thought, look, if the boys just steady here, the crowd's into it, we can actually, I said to Matza, 3/4 time, we need to come in either at this margin, which was about 4 goals, or ideally less. And I think we're a chance. Yeah. Even if we're 4 goals down 3/4 time, I thought, look, we're still a chance. Obviously, what happened in that third quarter was honestly like bottom of the barrel football.
Yeah. What was kind of the fan reaction? Were people fired up, or was it kind of like a solemn crowd?
Zero anger around me.
Yeah.
Including from me. Everyone is just, again, so used to the bad football that it was, hey, we're up and about. Every tackle, we're raw. Like it was great atmosphere to start the game, and then it just became, it's going to be one of these ones now.
Yeah.
And the disappointment of it was when I'm watching a few clips, because again, in person, it's hard to know. You're on level 1. I've seen a few clips back. There's a damning one that's making the rounds of an easy transition the Swans did from behind. And it's just like kick to 30 meters right in front, like center of the field, kick up the corridor, kick up into the 50. Like 3 or 4 kicks of just uncontested. Like, what are you all doing? Yeah. Embarrassing. Another one of like Luke McDonald in the center of the ground. The Sheasel, like 2 players to his left, like not even out of his peripheral, like out of his sight. If he just turns his head slightly. Right on the 50, Sheasel open. No one around him. He just bombs it to a 10-on-10 pack. Stuff like that. And the amount of times we would have a shot hit the post or a mistake, didn't even get a shot off. And then within 30 seconds, it's a goal the other way. Is just way too easy. And I'm not getting too angry about it because it's the same old mistakes. Like, I'm beyond the anger point at this rate. But for me, it's just, what do we do from here? A lot of North fans online or other pods or whatever are questioning Clarko a little bit. For me, Clarko's not the problem. Like you said, he's not really getting angry with the media. Like, I don't need to see that personally. That's not my go right now.
Yeah.
We all know Clarko's a great coach. You don't win 4 premierships. Now, it is a different era. Maybe his tactics aren't as made for the modern game. I can't say that for sure. All I do know is, again, when Luke McDonald, a seasoned veteran, is bombing it to a pack instead of just looking slightly to the side to hit an open man on 50, that's not coaching. Clarko's not wanting him to do that. You know what I mean? If they're transitioning the ball, Clarko's not saying, hey, Tom Powell, don't run with your man.
Well, it's interesting you say it's not coaching, but it has to be, isn't it? Because who's setting them up? Or unless, this is the thing I even have with Carlton and some of these other teams, they can't kick the balls inside the 50. It's clearly not good football, but the coach has to prepare the players to play a certain way against adversity, right?
Yeah, no, I'd agree about the general game plan. Yeah. But in a moment like that where there's 2 options in front of you, the guy open to your left or the pack, that's an individual player's choice. I would bet a lot of money that Clarko's looking at that from the coach's box saying, there's your man, and then he's annoyed when he hasn't kicked it there. Speculation. But
why do you think players don't hit that option? Is it they're not capable? They don't have the game sense? Is it that they go into their shell?
I think it's a game sense. I think it's fear of failure.
Yeah.
With North at this point in time, I think, like Matzo and I have been saying to start the season, it's like that new mantra for North is drive the car, take your 7 seconds when you've marked the ball, assess your options. We've shown in spurts of games we can chip the ball around and control the game a little bit better.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual like bite off the difficult kick, just the for me it's between the ears. We're not a good enough team. We're still young, but also some of the stuff was damning in that third quarter specifically. Now I will say this, and Clarko said this, and North fans getting annoyed at him. The Swans are a good team. And when the Swans are on, and they had a 13-day break, we had a 6. I'm not making excuses, but they've had 2 weeks to think about North Melbourne.
Yeah.
Fresh, ready to go. We've had 6-day break. I'm not blaming that aspect of it, but they were ready. They had the look in their eye, the toughness all game, and it just seemed like one of those games where they've got 3 men to every one.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, I feel like the North boys like competed, and then were just outmatched. And then it got out of hand real quick. So, I don't know.
Which is disappointing because, I mean, Chad Warner got subbed out, had a poor game. He's the big driving factor. There are a lot of key Swans out. So, yeah.
It didn't matter at that point. I'll be honest. I didn't realise he was off.
Yeah.
For me, it's just the red guys were bigger, stronger, and smarter. And we just lost the confidence to compete and match them. So, it didn't really matter who was out there, to be honest with you.
If obviously North had a positive start to the year, had that big win against Melbourne. If the trend continues from this game and you kind of fall flat, end up being another bottom 4 team, how will you reflect on that? Is it
depends how many wins we get?
Yeah.
If it's 3, 4 or less, like it has been in every other year, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Now, if it's 7, 8 wins and we're still edge of that bottom 4, I can at least look at the positives in that. In saying that, look, we are going to lose the Gold Coast this week. Then we've got you guys.
Yeah.
That's definitely not not a game I'd go in with massive confidence, but you could argue it's winnable.
Yeah, I think it's winnable.
Look, from my perspective, there's way more angry on North fans out there. I'm sort of more just overreacting to these kind of losses. I did think they were gone. I will say there's a bit of a thing online as well about, and you wouldn't even be on your mind, but like a guy like Toby Pink was key defense the last couple of weeks while Griffin Logue was out. And then this week, he got dropped for Matt Whitlock, our debutant, which we traded a first-round pick this year for. And Logue came back. So we played 4 tall defenders, Common, Core, Logue, Whitlock, which was strange. I'll be honest. Like, I wasn't expecting Whitlock to get a game so early. But specifically the North fans, and this is a bit of a vent, those complaining about the fact that Pink got dropped over supposedly good game against Adelaide is just laughable to me. Because you've got your 5th-string key defender out there out of necessity.
Yeah.
He's had 2 half-decent games. If he goes out when Logue's back, like, don't act like he's undroppable because he did his role for 2 weeks. We're talking about Toby Pink here. Like, no disrespect.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of disrespect, man. It's Toby Pink. Just get rid of him. Sure.
No, but like, you know what I mean? You don't wait for him to have the bad game, in my opinion, and then drop him. You thank him for his service for the games he filled in for, and then he's out of there. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can begrudge getting your first-round draft pick some experience.
I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he was playing as like a medium when he's 200 centimeters was a bit weird.
Yeah.
So anyway, look, disappointing. Swans are a good team. North isn't. I do worry that we're going to get spanked by Gold Coast this week.
Yeah.
And then it's like, shit, now we really need to beat Carlton or at least be in the game like till the very end.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Look, from a Sydney perspective, probably won't talk about it too much. I think the main player that I want to talk about is BRIS, which I think everyone's talking about. It just pisses me off that Sydney can find a player like this in the 40s. I think the Luke Parker pick.
It was Parker and Constanti for pick 44, Riley BRIS. Yeah.
This guy comes in, another left footer, right? When I see that, I just think of my own team and all the other teams that just can't find a way to get a value pick. This guy's coming in. He's already the most damaging halfback in the team. They've got Nick Blakey in there. And this guy was halfback, forward half intercepts, kicking into forward 50, switching it. Like, who is this guy?
But is it a matter, I agree with you. Is it also just a matter of the system? Like, he's just there to play his role and he's got the confidence now. Like, put it this way. If he was on North Melbourne, I don't think anyone's talking about him. I think it's one of those ones.
But it could also just be the fact that being a recruit that's older, maybe he's just ready to come into the football, to play football.
Maybe, and that's, like you said, every team that passed on him.
Imagine just being able to plonk someone like him straight into your team.
Yeah.
Plug a hole, solve a problem.
Mm.
And Sydney, who doesn't need any more players that can kick the ball straight, it's frustrating, man. But good on Sydney.
Yeah. No, their ball movement was great. North's transition defense sucks, but, you know, it takes a good team to actually punish you, which they did. So, full credit to them. Do you think because they were a premiership contender last year. Obviously, they were in the grand final. Great, best team all year, bar finals, obviously. But do you think this is it? Like, the trajectory is up now? Do you think they just, humbled a North team that's not very good?
Oh, they have to be around it, man. I mean, look, they still got their captain to come in. They got Errol Goulden to come in. They got Papley, Melican. Who else?
Not Taylor Adams, if you consider
Taylor Adams.
best 22.
There's probably one or two others that we're missing as well, right? So, 8 great players to come back in. You know that they make a difference. But yeah, like you can't. I don't think you can be concerned about Sydney at this point.
Yep,
it's still early season, so we don't know exactly how good they can be. But we've seen their best football last year. The thing about Sydney is just the fact that they've been pumped in grand finals twice.
Yeah,
you think, do they have what it really takes to go all the way to the end? Well, we don't know, but I mean, they'll be pushing for top 4 surely.
Yeah, I think that'd be their ambition for sure, despite where they are right now. Oh, Matt's has given me the sing. Matt's wanted me to say something that I forgot to write down, so I'll mention it now. Caleb Daniel. Now,
I actually had a note. The turnovers. Are you going to talk about turnovers?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. So, look, I think as North fans, we're so desperately crying out for good ball use in the defense that it just seems like every year we put every egg in the one basket. A couple of years ago, it was like the Aaron Hall basket. Then it was like
Zach Fisher,
the Zeeble basket. Then it was Zach Fisher.
Where's he gone?
He was injured to start the season. Now he's in the twos, and I think he got concussed. But anyway, Matz's good call the other day when we're at the game was Daniel's basically like Fisher with a helmet right now. So, look, he's not wrong because when you have all your eggs in the one, but like I said, all the kicks go to Caleb Daniel. He's going to make mistakes, but some of them have been bad.
Yeah,
like there was a few really bad kicks the last couple of weeks.
Is it just he's trying to bite off something that's not there to get the game going? He's taking it. It's not.
Some of them were just like he was going to kick it long, stuttered, hesitated, then tried to hit the 20-meter kick and kicked it to the wrong person. Yeah. Some of them are really bad. I'm not saying he's horrible. He's got value, but probably one more thing I'll vent about. Our kick-ins are the worst in the comp. Our efficiency of getting the ball, just from a kick-in, a simple kick like 30 meters into the boundary, someone waiting on the boundary, is like apparently not an option. Just take the easy kick and then punt it up the field if you want.
Well, this is one of those things that probably is coaching. Because this is set plays.
That I will guarantee blame whoever's in charge of the kicking structure because we, for years now, can't find a half-decently efficient way to get the ball out.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating.
It's super frustrating. A lot of teams can't do it, and a lot of teams have set plays where they can kick the ball twice and it's in the forward 50.
And it just seems like, hey, why is that guy open? Oh, now the next one's open. It's like 2 kicks, they're out of the 50.
Yeah.
Then it's the offense starts.
But if it's a set play, you know that they're going to have time, they're going to be in the goal square. How come the team can't be creative to find a way to get the ball out?
I don't know, man. I can't answer that question.
Have half the players run one way, half the players run the other, and then one in the middle. Like, do something.
You're right. I think there will come a time in AFL footy where teams are much braver with the kicking because at a certain point, the defense is going to get so good at stopping so many situations that you're going to have to do something crazy like that.
And I think defense is already at the point where the flood of defense, you can just bomb the ball 50, repeat entries, and it just comes out, man.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a transition game. It's a scoring from defense game. So teams are better at doing that than doing anything else.
Yeah. They're just so worried about the turnover that comes with that risk.
Yeah.
So once I think teams figure out a way to protect themselves but also take a risk, they're going to be...
It's an interesting point, though, because there's not enough creativity with kick-ins.
Man.
It's either someone does a cheeky pass or it goes to the right side or left side.
Yeah. Well, and mostly it's just someone's open because the defense, someone got lazy. A part of the COLL got a bit lazy and left a man open.
That's true,
But that's not the offensive team doing anything special. So, anyway, that pissed me off as well. Thanks, Matza, for the call. Next game, look, it's really just the Jesse Hogan show, this one. When you're on 9 goals, what was it, 8 goals from 8 kicks? Why are you handballing the ball? You had a chance to shoot again, man.
I don't know.
Anyway, no, what a player.
No, if you kick 9 goals, it's irrelevant, man. Unless you kick 10.
True. Yeah, look,
That's a failure
I'm disappointed.
of a game.
I'm
Yeah.
disappointed in him.
Pathetic.
Yeah.
The fact that it's 9 straight, though, what a weapon. Man, the key forwards have started on fire this year. Across the league, there's some serious players.
Oh, look. Well, you've got, I mean, Larky's thereabouts, Coleman, Thilthorpe, we've said. Horrigan now, obviously. King's doing well.
Yeah. Probably a couple we're missing off the top of our head.
Yeah. Darcy. Yeah, Sam Darcy. We'll talk about him soon.
Potentially the best player in the comp at the moment, this guy.
So, yeah, no, you're right. The key forwards are back, man. It's exciting.
Well, even, I mean, small forwards as well. Darcy Jones. What
on earth?
Who is this player, man? Giants just know how to pick these small kids.
Have you seen the footage of him running from defensive wing with Duggan tracking him? And then he's just gone and gone and gone, kicked the goal. And Duggan just, it's pretty bad footage for the captain. He's just sort of stopped around the 50 mark and just watched this guy just kick a goal.
Insane.
Yeah, you had a great game.
Did you see the Giants' social media about Darcy Jones' birthday?
No.
They do that thing where they send a message to the player and they're like, what do you want us to do for your birthday? And Darcy Jones replies like, I don't know, how about you make fun of my heart again? And then they make fun of his heart. The Giants have it on point with their social media is so good, man. I wonder what they would do if their team was bad, because I think the Giants have the advantage of being still a new club, a small supporter base. So it's not like you get a lot of backlash. So it's almost, they probably have more license to do something funny because maybe there's just less people to complain about it.
I think they would still have the same energy, to be honest with you.
So I'm just interested to see if you chuck like the Giants social media team into the Melbourne team, the Port team, the Carlton team, whether they'd be taking the piss out of Cripper or something like that, or
I don't think it'd be personal with a player, but I think just the general vibe of negativity, they'll find a way to make it funny.
Yeah, they're special. I think you'd have to be pretty special to make that funny for those teams. But yeah, they've just got that perfectly. It's like there was one where Jesse Hogan's getting on a bus, and there must be a meme about him not liking buses or something like that. But it's pretty funny, man.
The bus driver.
Oh, look, Eagles are terrible, let's be honest. Their list is just woeful. Their players are shocking. And the Giants are good. And it's an 80-point win for a reason.
Harley Reid off half-back taking some kick-ins was weird. Getting him involved, I guess.
Yeah, I think he's leaving, man. I think he's leaving, bro. He looks so uninterested.
He's giving off some Horn Francis vibes right now.
Who in the Eagles list are you excited about?
Let's have a read. I'll be very honest. I think Jinby, he's fun to watch. I'm not excited by him, but he's fun to watch. What about? Yeah, no, there's not a lot here.
Bro,
Reid is exciting, obviously.
Yeah, well, when he plays, he hasn't been exciting this year though. Has he done one exciting thing?
He took a nice mark last week, but yeah, no. There's not much. There's not much here. And then they've gone and passed on Murphy Reid in the draft, which I want to give myself some credit. I had Reid rated very highly all year.
Yeah.
How he slipped to where he slipped in the draft is ridiculous.
Yeah. So much class.
Including the Eagles. Trading out of their pick to not pick him is ridiculous. But anyway, now look,
I think Liam Baker's contributed. No one's really talked about Liam Baker because no one talks about the Eagles, but I think he's holding up his end of the bargain. I mean,
there's not much else to say.
I'm trying, man. I don't even know who.
There's nothing here. You guys, the fact that you've brought that up though, you cannot lose. I know you said this before.
That's what I'm saying. We can't.
You cannot lose to this team next week.
Carlton can't lose to this team, but what I'm saying is I kind of want them to. I kind of want the chaos, bro. It would just be incredible.
No, George, say don't say, man.
The Giants talk about the possessions that they're. This is just a feast game. I mean, if you're a Giants supporter, you're watching that with popcorn, and it's just the best moment of your life.
Oh yeah. Shout out Matza having captaincy on Whitfield and Supercoach.
Oh, incredible. Those ranking points through the roof, man.
Top 500. Check out his vid.
That's it.
Yeah, no, there's not much else to say. Let's move on. We've got the Saners. I actually tipped him.
You so I said I was going to tip him, and I changed my tip because I saw their record at Adelaide Oval was terrible. Didn't matter. Port are worse.
And you know what? Then I was regretting having tipped them because Steele wasn't out and Butters wasn't in. And I had just locked in the tip before that even got announced.
Yeah.
So I thought, shit, I've probably gone too early on them here. But they played well, man. They got the scoreboard pressure early, which was huge for them.
Yeah.
And then managed to weather all the storm. Paul gave it a decent crack. But, man, the Saners, I think they found their identity again. They seem to go through spurts in a season where they play this kind of football.
They do, yeah.
And it's happened now. Let's see if they can sustain it. But I'm impressed.
Well, the interesting thing about the Saints, they kicked 8 goals, 1 from stoppages.
Huge.
which is insane,
And
right?
you wouldn't expect that. Yeah,
No, you
even
wouldn't.
without Steele.
Well, if you looked at that game and you looked at Port Adelaide, you go, what's their strength? Well, they've got Butters back in, they've got Rosie, they've got Horn Francis, they've got Wines, they've got Drew. They got the power in the midfield. That's where they need to win it. They got annihilated, man.
Crazy.
So the Jack McRae trade-in looks like the most insane gift ever.
The easiest decision and the best decision they could have made.
You're right. I mean, Steele's their captain. He's not playing, right? But other players are getting it done. Like Garcia's coming in. You know, obviously Sinclair pinch hits.
Nazaya and Jack Sinclair.
So probably the two best halfbacks in the comp at the moment.
Unreal, man.
Pinging it. Absolutely pinging it.
Yeah.
They just, obviously a Ross Lyon team's always going to bring the pressure. If you bring the pressure against Port Adelaide, then you're going to put them, you're going to put them under pressure, and I don't think that they can handle that.
Yep.
But I think Port only had 4 individual goal kickers, so they're not getting the spread. The Saints had way more. And look, the Saints have been kind of a nothing team for a long time, but when you look at them play like that and you kind of go through their names, you start to see an identity and you start to see a lot of positivity everywhere, right? So, I mean, Darcy Wilson goes through, what is his third year now? Second year? Can't remember. But he's become a dominant player.
Third year, I think.
Third year, right? I mean, Mitch Owens, super potent player. You've got the two halfbacks we just talked about. And then you kind of lesser lights.
They threw Caminiti back this year. He's doing a pretty good job.
He's doing good. I mean, Jack Higgins is always good for a couple of goals. Callum Wilkie, super solid in defence. Lance Collard, he's looking likely.
Showing something. And he hasn't really had that breakout 3 or 4 goal game, but he's making a nuisance of himself.
I think Cooper Sharman is underrated as kind of a third tall. Liam Stocker actually looked good, which is crazy.
The funny thing is with a lot of these players we're mentioning now, because they're winning and everything's working, we're talking about them with praise.
Yeah.
We could easily, if they lose 2 in a row, be like, Sharman, like it really is just a confidence thing, and they're playing so well. Like, we have to praise them.
I quite like most of those guys that I've mentioned, right? And there's still like a player like Liam Henry.
Yeah.
That should come back in. I'm not sure who else they're missing. Travaglia, his first round draft.
Obviously, the King's the big one.
He looks good. Max King as well.
Can they still be as potent with him there? You'd think, like, obviously, yes, but recent history suggests that it gets a bit too much about him when he's there. Yeah. So they kind of play better or look a bit more dangerous and versatile without him.
100%.
But we'll see. I like how they're competing, man. That's when you compete like that and put the pressure on, you can win games like this.
Yeah, well, I think also Port Adelaide, have kind of fallen victim, like Carlton, like Melbourne. I just think that they're just not playing the modern game style, and they just seem like they're super unexciting, right? They've lost probably a weapon in Houston that probably tapered over a lot of cracks because of his skill and his ability to kind of transition the ball. When they lose that, they lose almost a soul in the back line.
Yeah,
and I don't really know what they're trying to do. We've talked about the coaching situation a bit. There was an interview with Ken Hinkley and Voss. They did like a coach's night on 360, and Ken Hinkley was like, "Nah, it doesn't make a difference. I'm the coach. I'm making all the decisions." And it's like, well, should you be if you're moving on?
Yeah, I will say I do like the look of Georgiadis this year. He's playing well, and Lord came back, kicked 3.
Yeah, that was big.
Butters back, first game back. So I think the next 2-3 weeks, they do have a chance to get on a bit of a run and show their better selves again.
The thing is, the reason why I'm concerned about him is obviously their win-loss at the moment, but Porter kind of traditionally bullies to teams that are lesser than them, right? They make the top 4 because they have home ground advantage. They beat up on bad teams and, they challenge teams around them successfully or not successfully. But the Saints are probably a team that's meant to be an easy beat to them. They're at home. The Saints have a terrible record at Adelaide Oval, and they just got smashed around the ball and out-gridded. And this comes from, we haven't even talked about, 3 goals from Horn Francis, which is a crazy return.
Yeah.
He looked possessed. He looked like he was back to his best and he really was hungry. And usually when you have a performance like that from one of your best players, it results in a win. Yeah. They lost with a 3 goal from a midfielder. So,
and not just they lost, but they only put up 7 more goals if you take his out of it. So
yeah,
and that's
no spread.
So it's basically no spread. Georgiades, Lord, and Horn Francis basically their only goal source, which isn't good enough. But we know that they do have it in there. We know that Rosie can come out with a few goals. We know that Rioli and so forth can get on the scoreboard. So
Yeah.
I think it's in there still. My big question, like you said, is that the Hinkley, this transitional coaching year, is that a factor? We don't know, but they've got the Hawks next week. I just checked. So it's gather round, big crowd will be there. They could lose, obviously.
Yeah.
They're not for the favourites, that's for sure.
No. I'm not very bullish about them at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's fair, man. That's fair. But no, well done, Saners. Shout out, Chris. Freo beat the Dog. This was a good game.
Yeah,
Freo beat the
good
Dogs
game.
by 16 points. Main talking points. I don't know. For me, Freo putting up 15 goals is important against a decent Dog side.
Yeah, I think, what did they have, 10 goals to half-time or something like that, which is unusual for them.
11, yeah.
11. Look, they looked quite damaging. And, I thought, especially in the first half, they really came to play. So it was good. Do we typically see the handball kind of game from Freo? Not really, but I feel like they showed more attacking flair than usual. And just, they were strong around the ball. Like when Sarong has that much of the ball and Brayshaw has that much of the ball, good things typically happen.
I feel like usually with them, they start the season and everyone's like, Freo's boring, why aren't they delivering? Then they just hit this switch and they can play this football.
When they hit that switch, though, they look insane.
They do look great.
Yeah.
So if they keep this up, I think they'll quickly again become maybe not top 4 fancies in people's eyes, but you wouldn't want to play them in the final sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Sam Darcy, 5 goals, again, another great performance. Anyone who's trying to put this kid down and say he's overrated or whatever, just, you need to stop. You're looking silly now.
He's still a young player, so I'm kind of waiting for that down game, but it just doesn't happen.
Well, why would you? I mean, again, you probably will have a down game here and there, but this is the standard of a kid in his 3rd year as a key forward.
Yeah.
Or 4th year, whatever he is. But he marks everything. He's lethal on both sides, which for a player of that height is out of this world. And he's kicking clutch goals. Like there was a goal towards the end where he sort of kept him in it. He had no right kicking it. Throws the ball in the booty. His IQ is through the roof. His calmness.
Yeah.
He's got a lack of emotion in a good way.
Yeah.
He's fully in it, in the contest, in the zone every time he plays.
And he can kick straight. 5 goals, 0.
He can kick straight, but they've got Norden in the forward line, who I haven't rated as highly as others over the years.
And I think you're right about him because I don't think he's a very good player.
But here's the thing, man. Like previous years, the Dogs would have no chance unless Norden was doing something crazy. He's out of people's minds right now. He's going so under the radar. Yeah. But no one's even saying, oh, Norden needs to do better or whatever. Everyone's just sort of saying, whatever, he's there. He's another body. It's all about Darcy, man. So well done to him. Not enough to carry him over the line. But, man, if he plays like that every week, goodness me, which he has been.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the All-Australian team at the moment, Darcy.
Lock. No, 100% lock.
Yeah, he's a freak. Yeah. Look, it was also a relatively gritty performance from the Dockers when you look at the fact that Jackson got injured, O'Driscoll got injured, Wagner got injured after they made the sub, or he was the sub, so the other 2 players. So, a couple men down is something to consider. From the Dogs' perspective, what's their win-loss now? Are they 2-2?
They are, 2-2.
We were praising them a couple of weeks ago, the fact that they're playing a little bit better football and they're kind of holding their fort for their best players, but it sounds like Bond's been pushed back a bit. Chalor's a bit indefinite. Some of their players, Cody Waitman's indefinite as well. I just wonder, like there's some positivity, but that can turn into negativity pretty quickly.
And they beat North by a couple goals and Carlton by a couple goals. Not exactly the best wins.
After last weekend, looks like expected. Looks like they should do that. So.
Maybe should have won by more, potentially. Yeah. So, and then they're losing to the Pies in a nail biter. They should have won that game. And then now to Freo in Perth. So it's kind of expected without being too positive or too negative, I don't think.
It's almost like with more context, you kind of go, I kind of get where they are, but they're probably not at that top level or that top 8 fighting level until they have the best of the best back in.
And that's, you know what, they're probably the most accurate record and feeling on a team from the general public.
Yeah.
Like no Bont, no Treloar, fair enough. They've won the 2 easier games. They've lost the 2 more difficult games.
Yeah.
Neither by too many margins.
No.
Kind of just like what you see is what you get with them at the moment.
And look, the positive is they're still getting more games into some of the young kids. Like Sanders had a bit more on ball time. I think he kicked 2 goals. So that's a positive as well. I mean, we talked about Darcy. He's probably the main exciting one, but Davidson's been impressive all year. They're blooding some youngsters.
Yep.
It is funny to kind of see Harms kind of play midfield minutes. You think like a team with Harms in it surely can't be.
Did you see his goal from the boundary though?
That was a good goal.
That was insane, man. Nah, yeah, look, well done, Freo. They've sort of steadied this season out a little bit. Let's have a quick peek at the ladder, right? So top 4, Hawks undefeated, Brisbane undefeated. Then you got the Suns and Giants, the 2 expansion teams. AFL will love that one. Then you go Crows, Pies, Saints, Cats to round out the 8.
Yeah.
Swans just out of it. Doggies, Freo also on 2 wins. Then you got Port, North Essendon, Richmond on the win. Carlton bottom 3 with Melbourne and the Eagles. It's
What's fascinating about this ladder is it almost seems like we talk about such an even competition, and we've had last couple of seasons where the ladder wasn't obvious till almost the final round. But if I'm looking at this, Eagles no chance, Melbourne no chance, Carlton no chance, Richmond no chance, Essendon terrible, North Melbourne terrible, Port terrible. Dogs are a maybe, but they're around that 9th to 11th where they are at the moment. It's really Sydney and Fremantle fighting for a position. And really, the only obvious one to probably come out from that is maybe St Kilda if they can't stack it. So it's almost like the ladder's set, which we know it isn't because there's so many turns in the season.
You're calling it even before Joey Montagno. It's done. Loaded in.
To me, it is. And it's not the 8 you'd expect, is it? But with Gold Coast and Adelaide flying up, but on the form that they're in the game that they played against each other, how can you deny it?
Yeah. Fair enough, man.
I think that's it. Like, there's some teams you've ruled out completely, right?
There's a handful of teams.
A lot.
Yeah. Now, look,
before the season, you think Carlton is in it, you think Essendon's in it, you think Melbourne will be around the mark, Port's around the mark. They've already proven themselves to be way off the mark.
Yep. Already.
So, obviously, they can turn it around. Obviously, they can become competitive, find it out. But to fight for a top 8 position, like Carlton and Melbourne are winless.
Crazy. Well, yeah, things will change. There's no way it's like set in stone right now, but it is interesting that the season quickly goes, man. It's already been 4 rounds.
Yeah.
You know, things can get away from you. Just like things can get away from you in tipping. So just a very quick visit to our tipping comp. So congrats at the moment to Skivo. Lana S, number 1, standalone on 29 votes, or 29 tips, I should say. In second place, Bilbo Baggers, 1 tip behind. And there's a bunch of others there on 28 also. So we've got the Dutch 73, Benny Horridge, Paul Curtis Taylor, nice name that one, Mr. Incredible, the Armadale Demons, Daniel N7, Fish and Crips, also on 28. And also we got Zoramericand, George Z.
We said we're not going to get you on the name reading, and we just did it again.
Nah, look, it's part of the pod at the moment. Well done to everyone. That's
what are you ranked, Dean?
Me? Oh, God.
In our top, because I'm ranked 67.
Let's have a look. Oh, have you got it in front of you? Or mine's
I don't know if I can find you.
I'm on 23 tips, so that puts me pretty low. Although I tip North every week, so don't listen to me.
Yeah, I tip Carlton. I'm an emotional tipper, which doesn't bode well. So,
all right, let's get into it then. So Crows gather round this week, I should mention. So Crows hosting the Cats to get us started at Adelaide Oval. I think you got to go Crows. Crowd behind them.
Yeah, you can't not back them.
I'm going to go by. I'll go by a decent little 27 points.
Look, that's a pretty cracker game. Hopefully the weather stacks up, because I'm sick of seeing these shitty
wet games. Yeah, agreed, man. Collingwood then against the Swannies at Adelaide Oval as well on Friday night.
So this is neutral territory. I'm going to go Sydney.
I'm going to go Sydney too.
Yeah.
They, despite how bad North was, they did get some confidence from that and got their game going. So we'll tip them. We're going to tip Gold Coast to beat North, unfortunately. Then we got to go Carlton against the Eagles.
Surely, man.
All right.
Well, like Carlton is 0-4 and they're $1.17 at the moment. The Eagles 5.10. That just shows how bad the Eagles are.
They've got to, man. They've got to. Brisbane v the Doggies. Got to go Lions.
Yeah.
Surely. This one's interesting. Melbourne v Essendon. Melbourne desperate for a win. Yeah. Essendon.
Well, they've only won 1 game.
They've only won 1.
You got to go Essendon, man.
You reckon? Melbourne has to win though.
They don't have to win. They could just keep losing, bro.
Oh, you know what? For Zumi, I'll tip Essendon. Let's go.
Essendon's the type of team that can run over a Melbourne, though.
They can, yeah. No, you're right. They can get there,
and I feel like they can compete in the middle.
Yeah, no. Look, Melbourne hasn't earned a tip, so I can't do it. Richmond v Freo.
Tigers, mate.
Gotta go. Nah, are you serious? Gotta go Freo. Saints v the Giants. Does the St Kilda story continue? But surely the Giants just.
I always like to tip the Giants when they travel
Mm.
because they're just a great travelling team. Norwood Oval, wherever the hell that is, I don't know if we should give the Saints any props.
Yeah,
when it
fair
comes to like Giants are great and they love playing in random spots, man.
Mm.
So they'll be all right.
Yep. And then to end gather round at Adelaide Oval, we've got Port v the Hawks. Got to be the Hawks, man.
Hawks.
I think they're pretty easy tips this week, to be honest.
Yeah,
with you.
I think there's always an upset. Should we predict the upset?
I would say Melbourne, if that's considered an upset. It's pretty even odds though.
That's a swing. That's a swing game.
Probably the Collingwood Sydney games.
That's a swing game.
Swing
And
game.
even Geelong Adelaide, you'd back in Adelaide being gathered around and on the form they're in, but
Any love for North to bounce back? Nah, surely not.
no, I don't think so, man.
Crazy that we're $3.09. It feels like that's generous.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think that will change closer to the game though.
yeah, I think so. Anyway, that's about it. Anything else catch your eye this week? Oh, there was we shouldn't really talk about it too much because it's old news now, but the gun incident at the G. Crazy.
Yeah,
Don't bring guns to the footy, man. That's just,
yeah.
Just
I'm
don't
not
do
for
that.
guns at the footy, man.
that's about it. Otherwise,
I get that they're emotional. I mean, I don't know if they were Carlton or Collingwood supporters. I think it would make more sense.
does it really change much?
No, it doesn't really.
Anyway,
Thanks for
Georgie.
listening.
Matt, get well soon, mate.
Get well
See
soon.
you next week.
Yeah.
See you
If
guys.
Carlton lose, man, oh my gosh,
Oh, mate, you do not want to miss it.
we're gonna throw a party.
See ya.